Today we're going to be working on the Pendulum Post Lab. This is where you're going to be crunching the data that you collected with your pendulum yesterday. The very first thing that you need to do is to fill in this data table at the top of the page. Do not write down the data that I have in there, okay, unless that's actually your data. You are going to fill it in with the data from the chart that you filled in for homework or at the end of class yesterday. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is fill this chart in with the same data that's in your chart from the Pendulum Lab page. If you were not here for the Pendulum Lab, or if your group did not get all of your data, you will write down this data. Okay, so fill in as many of these numbers as you need to make sure you have a chart full, but if you have your own data, use it. Once you have that filled in, we're going to look at how the math is going to work. Here is the official formula for determining the acceleration of gravity using a pendulum. This comes from our pal Galileo, who's the first one to calculate the acceleration of gravity on Earth, and he used a pendulum just like we did. What this says is that t for the time period is approximately equal to 2 times pi times the square root of the string length divided by gravity. Doesn't that make perfect sense? You're all set? You're going to go out and do some math and do this? Maybe not? All right. So we need to simplify that, and fortunately for you, I dusted off my algebra skills and I have simplified this formula for you. Remember, the answer that we want is g for gravity. We already know t, we know L, and we should know pi. All right? So instead, I simplified it through steps that I'm not going to make you go through here, and we're going to use the formula g for gravity is equal to 40 times the string length divided by t squared. So in order to do this, I've broken it into 2 steps for you because my rinky-dink calculators do not have a squared button. First, we are going to find out what t squared is. When we know t squared, we are going to plug it in to the spot in the formula down here, plug in our L, and then we will be able to calculate gravity. So follow along with me here. This is what we're going to be doing. Okay, we're going to come up here for string length 1. Now notice that I want t in the first part of this equation and L in the second part. What students often do is they see that their L is first and they plug it into the t's and then their math is all confused. Make sure that you're plugging in the right spot. Here our string length is 0.36. You obviously need to fill in from what you have. Okay, so we've got 0.36 there. Now we need to calculate our t squared. Okay, t for this example is 1.174. So I need to use it twice. 1.174. And again here, 1.174. So I'm going to do this math out. All right. 1.174 times 1.174. Now remember, you're doing this with your own numbers. Do not use my numbers. Use your own numbers. My answer is going to be 1.378276. We don't need all of that. Let's round to the third decimal place. Okay, so I see my third decimal place is an 8. My fourth decimal place is a 2. Rounding rules tell us that since it's less than 5, I'm going to leave the 8 alone. Remember your rounding rules. So down here, oh, that said what? That said 1.378. That's going to be my answer. 1.378. That's t squared. So I now need to plug that in down here where I want t squared, 1.378. Okay, so now I have my t squared and it's plugged in. Now I can go through and calculate this formula. Notice that I put the 40 in bold. The other most common mistake that I see is that students just forget to multiply by 40 and then they wonder why they're living in microgravity on Earth when it doesn't feel like it. We need to remember to multiply by 40. So here we go. We're going to do the math again. 40 times my string length, which in this example is 0.36. Yours is obviously different. I get an answer for that. I'm going to divide by 1.378 and get an answer. 10 point, and again we'll go to the third decimal place. Now this one's a little tricky. We have 10.449927, etc. My third decimal place here is a 9. My fourth decimal place is also a 9, so this is kind of a special situation. So when I use the 9 to round the 9 up, I obviously round it to 10. That means I need to add that extra 1 to this 4 in the second decimal place. So I'm actually going to be calling this 4 a 5, but I need to leave a 0 in the third decimal place. Okay, this is significant figures. I don't know how much you've done with this in math, but since I have this fabulous teaching example, I'll just talk about it. Okay, so our answer is actually going to be 10.450. And in this example, it's important that I leave the 0 on the end. That was a 1. 10.450. Okay? It's highly unlikely that you're going to be seeing a case like this. That was very unusual. That was kind of a, I should go buy a lottery ticket or something. It's a lucky day for me. Friday the 13th, woo. All right, so that's the deal. Getting the numbers from your chart, not my chart, plugging the numbers in, doing the math, getting your answer of G. So you need to do that 2 more times for your chart. Okay? Once here, for your remaining sets of numbers. Then you're going to take this answer that you've gotten, my answer is 10.450, and on the back side of the page, you are going to be plugging that in. So here I would put 10.450. It just bothers me when it jumps to the next spot. Okay, so we've got 10.450. We've got 2 more answers from the other 2 answers that you're going to calculate, and then you're going to calculate the average of these. Please remember, folks, I keep seeing people forgetting to divide. Your average is add your numbers together and divide by the number of numbers. In this example, you're dividing by 3. Please remember to do that. Okay, check your answer and see if it seems like it's approximately in the middle of your 3 numbers here. Once you've done that, you are going to answer the post-lab questions. I feel like you're going to be able to get through this in one period, and I hope to collect this from you at the end of class. If not, it's going to need to be finished over the weekend, so you're going to want to get a move on that. When you finish, you can go on Study Island because you need practice with that, all right? And that's going to be due to me this evening, so take the opportunity to do it, all right? If you have any questions, come and see me, and let's find out what gravity on Earth is really like.